Today on Investigate TV Plus, you'll find them far from the bright lights of the Vegas Strip, even though they look a lot like slot machines. I'm Tisha Pell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. So-called skill games are popping up in places like gas stations, but are at the center of legal battles.
There are no regulatory restrictions on them, and they're literally hiding in plain sight.
I never buy into this gray area because to me, you're either legal or illegal. It's black and white. We're legal.
We investigate the gray area that leaves some people caught in the middle.
It's like putting a buffet full of desserts at an Overeaters Anonymous meeting.
Plus, life-changing treatment.
I can't even watch the videos because I have so much regret from it, but I have to always look at it as me being thankful about it because I wouldn't be where I am today.
One mother's fight to get her son's medication allowed at school.
And inspiration under the Friday night lights.
Stick around, we need a loud crowd.
How this teen made a senior's dream play come true.
Twins right heavy. You ready? Let's ride.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
They're showing up in gas stations, convenience stores, bars, and social halls.
It might look like a slot machine, but it plays by a whole different set of rules.
After spotting so-called skill games in states across the country, we wanted to know, are they legal?
The answer, investigator Josie Sturman discovered, is incredibly complicated.
For years, Ron Foreman has struggled with a gambling addiction he says cost him everything. In 2004, he says he voluntarily added himself to Missouri's problem gambling list, excluding him from visiting any licensed casinos.
I was keeping it under control, really pretty fine, really good there.
That was until 2020, when he says he relapsed and began gambling again heavily, eventually cashing out a settlement check from a car accident and blowing every single dollar.
I had a $150,000 cash in October, and by December, I was broke.
But Foreman's fortunes weren't lost this time among the bright lights and loud bells of a casino. He says he bet it all in gas stations and grocery stores in Missouri on unregulated video machines that look a lot like the slots you see in Vegas. They're called skill games, and they're spreading across the nation.
Those machines aren't slot machines like this one. The heavily regulated and taxed games based on luck that you'll find in casinos in states with legalized gambling. They're skill games like this one that look and sound similar. But with skill machines, players don't take a chance, they make a choice to win. And in many states, they've ended up in a gray area of what some consider unregulated gambling.
There are no regulatory restrictions on them, and they're literally hiding in plain sight.
Bill Miller is CEO of the American Gaming Association, or AGA. A study from the group estimates that in 2021, there were at least 500,000 unregulated gaming machines across the country, taking in more than $100 billion in bets.
I think the greatest danger is the lack of consumer protections. They are plugged into the wall, and they operate exactly like a slot machine without any of the protections for someone who might have a problem with gambling or somebody who might not be 21.
Our national investigative team spotted skill games in gas stations, convenience stores, and bars in Kentucky, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Virginia. Although some machines we saw clearly state there are age requirements to play or that ID is needed to claim any winnings, many machines have none of that and no one verifying age or barring problem gamblers from betting. A recent class action lawsuit against a skill game manufacturer even included pictures of kids playing the machines and also raised other concerns we've repeatedly heard from opponents about the fairness of their payouts, the impact on addicted gamblers, and the lack of security for players or the people who handle the cash.
I think that's crazy and very terrible policy.
But policy is where this kind of play gets tricky. It comes down to the difference between gambling and gaming, and that depends on who you ask. Many states have outlawed slot machines outside casinos, but the laws are murky, so these machines aren't considered slots. We're back to those two special words again, skill games.
I never buy into this gray area because to me, you're either legal or illegal. It's black and white. We're legal.
Michael Barley is in charge of communications for Georgia-based Pace-O-Matic, one of the biggest skill game makers in the country. He says they've repeatedly proven they're not games of chance, but those two words again, skill games that require some choice and interaction from the players themselves.
And so the skill in this is essentially choosing the square that creates tic-tac-toe.
Correct.
And unlike slots, Barley says skill machine players on their games can see the outcome and know whether the next game is a winner before risking any money.
There's skill in that, just involved in choosing to play before you ever put the money into the game. And then once you get there, sometimes there's multiple combinations. You have to pick the best one.
Barley says many skill game makers and their supporters actually want regulation and are open to taxation, with business owners and charity organizations saying they've already benefited big. But addicted gamblers say they pay the true cost when it feels like these machines are everywhere they turn.
It's like putting a buffet full of desserts at an Overeaters Anonymous meeting.
For Vicki Young and her partner Ron Foreman, that's meant swallowing losses totaling almost $400,000.
It's hard because you have hopes and dreams and you just watch them just be thrown away and for nothing.
Our investigative team obtained videos, pictures, and closed case files from law enforcement and gaming commissions across the country showing skill or slot-style machines they consider illegal being seized in states including Florida, Idaho, and Michigan. But there's a lot of contradiction. One Missouri prosecutor seized skill games and crushed them in a public event in 2021, saying they're illegal. But lawmakers there are still fighting to get a formal law to make it crystal clear. In Virginia, lawmakers voted to ban the machines in 2021, but a court decision let them stay up and running until the state Supreme Court reinstated the ban in 2023.
Meanwhile, the AGA's study estimates that states across the nation have lost as much as $8 billion in state tax revenue to skill games that are unregulated.
Still ahead, millions of Americans have this diagnosis, but the two types can cause a lot of confusion. In this medical mythbuster, we clear up some of the differences in diabetes.
Plus, this mom says her son's medication changed his life, but it's illegal in the classroom.
Because of the law, she has to check him out of school, take him 1,000 feet from the premises, give him his medication, and then check him back in.
An in-depth look at the fight to get pediatric patients access to life-altering treatments in schools. You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes.
According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, medical cannabis is legal in 38 states. Most of them permit medical cannabis for patients under 18 with a parent or guardian's oversight. Just 7 allow children to take their medical cannabis at school.
Now a mother in Michigan is desperate to get her son that same access to his prescription.
Reporter David Custer shows us how she's taking her fight to the state capitol and how one lawmaker is listening.
I like rapping, listening to music, playing basketball.
Jaden Carter is your typical teenager.
I just like being me. I like feeling okay.
But it's been a long road for this 16-year-old, anything but easy street.
We had gotten to a point to where CPS was considering removing him from my care because they were worried he was going to injure me.
Amy Carter knew her son Jaden was different the day he was born. She said he cried constantly as if he were in pain. He had 3 seizures before age 1. As he got older, she noticed his sensitivity to lights and sounds. He rarely slept. And then came the violent episodes.
Oh, stop! You're gonna hurt me. Stop it! Just stop. Just stop, Jay. Stop it!
He just was very violent and aggressive, and I used to have to restrain him like 8 to 10 times a day.
You need to stop, Jaden. I'm driving a car.
Doctors diagnosed Jaden with Asperger's, ADHD, and oppositional defiant disorder.
He was on everything from Depakote to Zyprexa to lithium, Risperdal, Abilify.
Carter tried pharmaceuticals, therapy, went to support groups, changed his diet, but nothing helped. And she said some of the side effects from the medications started to make her feel guilty.
As a mom, did you feel like, what am I doing wrong?
All the time. All the time. We had the police over to our house 120 times over a course of about 6 years. We had about 300 days of hospitalization through that time, and he was being suspended from school. He was injuring other staff members.
Out of options, Carter remembered hearing about a parent in Illinois giving their child medical marijuana to stop her seizures. Carter says she was hesitant to give it to Jaden, but she did, and says she immediately saw a difference.
That was when he was 9 years old. He is 16 now, and the benefits are still great. Exactly.
It makes me feel normal. Before I took cannabis, I just felt blank. I felt like I wasn't in touch with my body or my soul. I can't even watch the videos because I have so much regret from it, but I have to always look at it as me being thankful about it because I wouldn't be where I am today.
But Jaden can't always have the cannabis oil-filled capsules that make him feel normal. Michigan law won't allow him to take his prescribed medication on school grounds.
Even though he's a pediatric patient, licensed pediatric patient, because of the law, she has to check him out of school, take him 1,000 feet from the premises, give him his medication, and then check him back in.
State Representative Jimmy Wilson Jr. wants to change that. He's reintroducing legislation that aims to clear a path for the 200 pediatric patients in Michigan using medical marijuana, allowing them to receive their medication while at school.
It has to be prescribed by a doctor, obviously parental consent. This is non-smokable marijuana that will be allowed. And it has to be stored in the same location, locked away like anyone else's medication, in the administrator's office or the nurse's office. When you first say it, people are like, whoa, marijuana on the premises. And I say, no, it's not smokable marijuana. This is treating epilepsy normally. And there are provisions in place.
Yep, right there. Yep, that's good.
I still have tough times going to school because of it. I don't know what this is, but this looks interesting.
He shouldn't feel different. He shouldn't feel like his medicine is any different than the Ritalin or the inhaler that they're using at school. So we mastered this one.
Okay.
You get a star.
Yay.
All right.
It really helps me get who I am. And I just wish I wouldn't get discriminated against it so much because it's the only thing that helps my anxiety.
In 2015, the American Academy of Pediatrics published an updated policy statement which reaffirmed its opposition to the use of medical cannabis for children. But for the first time, the updated policy provided one exception. The APP recognized that medical cannabis may be an option for children with life-threatening or life-limiting conditions when there's no other treatment available.
Meantime, Jaden's mom continues her work through education. Amy Carter is now a published author. She contributed to the book Courage in Cannabis: The Triumphant Stories. It's a compilation of work from doctors, lawyers, patients, and caregivers about their journey with medical cannabis.
Still ahead, proof that a little teamwork goes a long way.
You know, we coach for kids. You know, we coach to be a part of their lives and help them. And you want them to be a part of something bigger than what they can.
Plus, a common diagnosis causes a lot of confusion. We break down the myths about diabetes. You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
According to the CDC, 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes.
But treatment isn't one size fits all. Experts say that's because even though two people may have similar symptoms, the diagnosis can be very different.
In this medical mythbuster, Viv Williams goes in depth on the disease that kills thousands each year.
All diabetes is not the same, and type 1 and type 2 diabetes are actually very different, almost opposite in some ways.
If type 1 and type 2 diabetes are so different, then why are they labeled as being the same disease? Dr. Anna Bradley, a Vanderbilt University endocrinologist, says both type 1 and type 2 diabetes have an impact on how your body turns food into energy, which results in your blood sugar levels being too high. But why this happens is different.
In type 1 diabetes, the blood sugar is too high because the pancreas stops producing insulin. And insulin is the hormone that causes the cells of our body to take in glucose or nutrition. So without that hormone insulin, our bodies can't bring sugar from the bloodstream into the cells, where it's mobilized and used to make energy.
Bradley says in type 2 diabetes, blood sugar gets too high when cells become resistant to signals produced by insulin. They stop converting sugar to energy, so the sugar builds up in your blood. Your pancreas responds by making too much insulin.
So the pancreas is working in overdrive to produce insulin to help the body overcome that resistance and respond.
Knowing what type of diabetes you have is important because treatments are different. If you have type 1 diabetes, Bradley says you have to be on insulin because your pancreas doesn't produce it. If you have type 2, she says there are many medications to try as a first defense to help your cells respond better to insulin. But
sometimes in people that have had diabetes for a long time, type 2 diabetes, their pancreas is working in overdrive for so long that it gives out. And so we do have to treat those patients with insulin.
The CDC notes that 90 to 95% of people with diabetes have type 2 diabetes. Bradley says being overweight is a major risk factor because fat tissue is insulin resistant. But maybe that's the good news because in some cases,
if we can reduce fat by improving diet, improving physical activity, that can actually reverse diabetes.
Whether you have type 1 or 2 diabetes, proper management decreases your risk of developing complications such as nerve damage and cardiovascular, eye, and kidney disease. With this Medical Mythbuster, I'm Viv Williams.
There is a third type of diabetes, gestational. It happens during pregnancy, but usually goes away. Dr. Bradley says it can cause complications for expecting moms, including high blood pressure and an increased risk for type 2 diabetes later in life. For the baby, there can be an increased risk of being born premature and being overweight or having diabetes in the future.
Up next, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary.
He's here every day. He works out, lifts weights. Every day he's always ready. I always ask him if he's ready. He said, I'm ready.
How this football player is inspiring others to achieve their dreams. Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to InvestigateTV Plus on all social media platforms. According to the National Federation of State High School Associations, about 1 million children play high school football.
A senior in a small West Virginia town made a big play he won't soon forget.
Reporter Joseph Payton has our story.
Suiting up for the Knights of Cabell Midland is a privilege, one that big number 73 Noah Casto has earned.
He's here every day. He works out, lifts weights. Every day he's always ready. I always ask him if he's ready. He said, I'm ready.
Casto has been suiting up all season long, always on the sideline with his aide, Lisa Jarvis, who says he's quite the celebrity.
He calls himself the mayor of Cabell Midland. We go down the hallway and it's nothing to hear. Hey Noah, and fist bumps all the way down the hallway.
Lisa and Noah are inseparable on Friday nights, and for good reason.
I always have my hand on his shoulder pads, so if they're coming our way, he knows if I start pulling, he knows to turn around and run.
But this particular Friday night was different. The days of Noah just simply watching the game were over.
Stick around, we need a loud crowd for that fourth down play.
We've been doing different things, different plays, just one play for a few weeks, kind of, and he scores, and so we're going to do it in the game or whatever. He always says, I'm ready. So he was ready.
73 stayed loose. He stayed ready. And finally, at the end of the night, Coach Sammons called his number.
Listen, we're going to be in twins right heavy. You ready? Let's ride.
He got the crowd going and took the field to make history. A moment that only took seconds, but will be remembered forever. Touchdown, Noah Casto.
It was an absolute dream, because that was his dream. It was something that he's wanted to do. A lot of happy tears.
You got to know why you're coaching, and a lot of people never understand that, but you know, we coach for kids. You know, we coach to be a part of their lives and help them, and you want them to be a part of something bigger than what they can do, and that's even like, no, that was a great moment for him. So.
And if that wasn't enough, how about getting the game ball from Coach Sammons?
Stand up. Goes to Noah. Let's go.
You know, there's so much you can take from athletics in schools. The kids were rallied around that student, and he really had a memorable game. Number 73.
Number 73 scored a touchdown. Sports teaches a lot of life lessons.
Absolutely.
They learn one there.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for us here on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, a sound of relief for families in food deserts.
We're finally becoming a town again. I feel like we're finally flourishing.
We travel to rural towns that took matters into their own hands to launch new markets and revive their communities.